I would like to say welcome to everybody who's joining us today for Vital Plus's first Future Beauty Talk for 2022. My name is Jemima Richards. I'm the Vital Plus educator for genetic, and I would like to say I'm really glad to be your host for today. Our topic for today is skin health from within, and joining us today is Michelle Brenton. Michelle is a naturopath, clinical naturopath, nutritionist and medical herbalist, and has been doing that for over 20 years. Amongst that role, she is the co-founder of Cell Charge, and amongst that role, she's also mum to 3 children, married to Shannon, and really loves looking after women and has a real passion for women's health and fitness. So welcome, Michelle. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, and hello everyone here today. Thanks for joining us. I'm very excited to be here today. I've got a lot to share, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Excellent. As we talked about earlier, Michelle, we love this topic, so we could be here all day, but I have the timer on so that we don't go too crazy. So let's get started. The topic, skin health from within, is a real passion of mine, Michelle, and I'm sure it is for you. Yes. Can I start off by asking you to explain to everybody before we kick into that, just a little bit about the difference between what a naturopath and a nutritionist and a medical herbalist does or might do?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So as a naturopath, it basically is the umbrella term for you are also a herbalist, you're also a nutritionist, and you're also actually a remedial massage therapist. Anything that's to do with holistic health and helping the person heal from a systematic point of view, internally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, you're qualified in all those areas. So you're essentially doing diplomas all simultaneously. So you're doing your nutrition, your naturopathy and your herbalist diploma all at the same time, having expertise then in those modalities to be able to help the person heal depending on what they've come to you for and depending on what they require, because it's obviously an individual approach.
Wow, that's just amazing, just amazing. So for you in your role professionally, can you tell me, what does skin health from within mean to you?
Sure. Well, I've treated a lot of skin conditions in my time, and it's always an internal response that's necessary. It's always needing to go within. So we view the skin as naturopaths, and I myself view it as an extension of your health. So what you're seeing on the skin is basically the end result. It's the story of where this person's been, what they've done to their body, what they've thought, how they've felt, how they've treated their body, and how they've fueled their body. So it doesn't just turn up in their body, on their skin, as an imbalance overnight. It takes a period of time. So it's always an internal problem. It might seem like a topical problem, but it's always an internal problem. So we must delve down deep into what's going on, where is it imbalanced, what's happening with this person for this to manifest through the lymphatic system, then to surface on their skin. And that's why I love the whole principle of facial mapping as well. So I might be sort of jumping ahead too fast though as well. So if you've got more to ask about that, ask. Otherwise, I'm happy to jump straight into the facial mapping also.
Okay, well, let's have a look at that, because that is something that we within Vital Plus and our role within genetic and NIMU and JUMO, we do refer to the face mapping based on the Chinese principle mapping, which is what it looks like you have there.
Yes, so it's a approximately 3,000 year old ancient philosophy that's been used in Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine. We found it extremely useful in our practice as well. We do prescribe Chinese herbs also within our practice. But when I'm talking to somebody, I'm looking at them, I'm looking at the skin integrity, skin health, but I'm also looking at what is on their face, in what positions it's on. So you can see on this map here that you've got that liver component. Also, what doesn't note is you've also got the pancreas that sits anatomically on the left side. The liver's more on the right. You've got the heart, and then you've got the large intestine running down each side of the nostrils, down those labial folds, down to the corners of the mouth. Stomach, so kidneys, you can see it all there. And I know we can all admit that we've had times where we haven't treated our body the best. You might have had too many wines and you woke up the next day and you can see the results on your face. You might have been really stressed out or eating too much sugar, and then you get some congestion in your skin, and the evidence is there. So they're just little examples, but the face will tell us the story of what's happening internally. And it does this way through TCM principles, through meridian channels. So those meridians, it's that blood flow connection from organs to skin. That's happening all the time. So the body is talking to us. The facial mapping just gives us that story, that map to what's happening, where's the imbalance, and what do we have to do internally to treat it. Topical comes, yes, and that's beneficial, but we must go internal.
And interestingly enough, I think for some people in the beauty industry world, they might only look at the face mapping to work out with, to work with acne. Whereas what you're saying and how I was trained with the Chinese medicine principle was, it doesn't matter what is presenting. If it's in a region, so say, for example, in the liver region between the eyebrows, it could be a pimple, it could be redness, it could be congestion, it could be pigmentation, it could be a range of different things topically, but it's, as you said, it's telling the story of what organ or what meridian it's relating back to.
Exactly right. It's telling you where the under-functioning organ, where the organ that's under-functioning and where that imbalance lies. Exactly. It could be vitiligo. In a particular area on the face and only that area. And it could be that fluid that people get quite often underneath the eyes. That's always a kidney adrenal sign. Adrenals sit on top of the kidneys anatomically. So we've got to look at adrenal and kidney health. So yes, it's definitely pertaining to that organ, and it gives you a big clue on how their skin can be restored holistically and not that Band-Aid approach, that long-term approach of healing them.
And I know over the years, many skincare companies have produced their own version of a face map, but I'm guessing you're going to agree with me that the ancient traditional Chinese medicine would be the safest one to go with, because it is based on the meridian principles linked to the organs directly.
Definitely. Absolutely. They've been doing it for, like I said, 3,000 years roughly. And that they definitely know. That's right.
So for people that might be watching live today or listening to the recording, watching this is a great map to refer to, even if it's in conjunction with other maps that you might have, to go back to this one with the traditional Chinese medicine principle as a real guide, especially for things, Michelle, I know when we have patients in clinic and when we're talking with our accounts, that the things around, for example, darkness under the eyes and around the eye area, if people aren't aware there's a kidney link to that, they would maybe just be prescribing topical eye products and not maybe getting as great a benefit or a result to
That's exactly right. And I'm sure, Jemima, you and yourself and anyone listening, you've all seen somebody come in with acne rosacea. That's very, very common. And instantly you'll see the red flushed cheeks. They'll be quite, capillaries may be broken as well. It's easy to think, oh, well, we need some soothing creams or we must downregulate inflammation topically. But when I treat that, I instantly treat them for B vitamins. There's always a B vitamin deficiency. Serum levels are always low, particularly B12. I'm always addressing the hydrochloric acid levels because they have tendency to always having really low hydrochloric acid levels from the stomach. So and they have a histamine reaction in the skin. So you need to look at the diet and see what's happening with histamine pertaining foods as well. So, or they might have food intolerances that have developed as well through leaky gut. So there's a lot going on with the gut when you see something like acne rosacea, for example.
And for beauty therapists, we are beauty therapists that aren't trained in nutrition necessarily. My background is in nutrition separately from beauty, but for many beauty therapists or skin therapists and dermal therapists, that hasn't been a large component of their training. But having a face map like this to have some understanding and potentially working with good naturopaths or Chinese medicine practitioners within their local area, it means they can get a combined effect for their clients where they're treating topically in the salons with the treatments that they're doing, having some knowledge to be able to then link their clients to the professionals that are trained in that. What the outcome means for that client is that they are getting the full spectrum of care and service and are thinking that their beauty therapist, skin therapist, dermal therapist is really on the ball. And that is great word of mouth for our therapists that, that will have that attraction.
You're right. You're thinking outside the box. You're not thinking about, let's just put everything on topically. Let's help this person be holistically healthy. Let's work systematically and then get that end result of that beautiful skin. Because that is what we all see walking around on each other. Like you're seeing the end result of years of nutrition and what, like I said, what someone does with their body, treats their body, you're seeing that. It doesn't just happen overnight. These imbalances take time to manifest in the skin.
And therefore, the reversal of those imbalances will also take a little bit of time, and a quick fix is unlikely to be a long-term result for them. So
that's exactly right. Yes.
And Michelle, for beauty therapists too, you might know this, but I would say in the last 5 to 7, maybe even 10 years, the real emergence of understanding the link to what's happening on the inside and showing up on the outside has become a prominent platform in the beauty industry. So beauty therapists are becoming more aware of these things to be able to at least have a basic understanding, and maybe a bit more in depth for those that are interested, to be able to feel confident to start to give some indication to their clients to then link them on, like we were saying, to the professionals. So this face map's a great starting point for those that maybe don't yet have a version of the traditional Chinese medicine face map. So thank you for that one.
It's wonderful. Pleasure.
What are some other things that you might suggest if someone's got poor internal cellular function, like if their cells aren't functioning well, what are we likely to see on the surface of the skin or in the body or even in their emotional state?
Okay, well, cells are cells, okay? We're made up of trillions of cells, and whether they're cells in the skin or cells in our body, they all require the same thing to function. So for a cell to function optimally, we need enough micronutrients. Micronutrients in the form of amino acids, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals. Really important we have adequate amounts, because if we don't, then our cell health is going to be affected dramatically. So skin, you'll start to see someone like lackluster, dull complexion, uneven skin tone, pigmentation will increase. You'll get acne, blemishes, blocked pores. The state of the skin will be noticeably out of balance. Inside the body, you'll be getting, it could be fatigue, could be insomnia, anxiety, depression, hormonal imbalances, high cholesterol, cardiovascular disease. I mean, 17.9 million deaths per year from cardiovascular disease. Every 6 seconds, someone dies from diabetes worldwide. So we've got some really big killers there in these things, and they're all got something in common. If we have high inflammation in our body, we're going to have higher states of disease, whether that be disease states manifesting quickly or whether it's like a ticking time bomb and it happens over time. But inflammation is the one driver for all of these disease states. Micronutrients, as I said, AKA amino acids, antioxidants, minerals, and vitamins, they come in and help cell function. They help to neutralize these free radicals. So minerals themselves, if we have adequate minerals, we're regulating the fluid balance of the cell to push with the sodium potassium pump, it's called. It pushes nutrients into the cell, like water, and then it gets rid of the toxins out of the cell. Also, we're going to have a healthy cell with a good phospholipid membrane. That's that intact membrane. Think of juicy green grapes and then think of raisins. So we want to obviously have the juicy green grapes, and we get that through enough micronutrients in our diet rather than the shriveled up raisins, which is a cell that's under oxidative load. It's a cell that's not functioning well. It's not communicating to the cells around it. It's cells that are dying quickly, because we get cell die-off all the time. But it's about that cell turnover, what we feed those cells to get the new cell turnover, and that the death isn't exceeding the cell turnover. So it's very important to have enough micronutrients. And considering it's known now over 2 billion people are micronutrient deficient, more and more all the time, it is no surprise that we've got high levels of cardiovascular disease, we've got high levels of diabetes, we've got high levels of irritable bowel diseases. That's turning out to be a huge problem, actually. In the last 4 decades, it's just gone right up as one of the number one problems with inflammatory drivers of disease and ill health. So if we have enough of these micronutrients, then we're actually helping our body to sustain good cell life in the skin, cell life in the body. It is no different. We must have the right level of micronutrients for that to perform its function properly and to be able to do its job.
And it's interesting because a lot of people are a lot more aware and may go to a chemist or a supermarket and buy some supplements like a vitamin B or a vitamin C. But I think, which is great, they're at least understanding that. But I think what you mentioned before, the balance of things is really important. And if you are just taking one thing, you might throw off everything else as a result of that. And there's been a lot of focus on vitamins for so many years. There's been far less focus on minerals, although in the last number of years we're starting to hear more about zinc or magnesium in particular.
Yes.
But we're missing the conversation around the other minerals that make those things also work in balance, like what you mentioned with the sodium pump, the sodium and potassium pump, and how if that's not working properly, or if one's too high, then the actual pump can't do what it's designed to do.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
So within the cells, we often talk about a particular component called the mitochondria. And within the genetic facial routine, for over 50 years, Mr. Laporte, the inventor of that skincare range, at the beginning of his facials, does a step where it's purely designed to activate the mitochondria, because his theory was if the mitochondria is working well, the energy is being produced, then everything else is going to work well. And we're hearing a lot more about mitochondria to do with health and with skin. Can you tell us a bit about the mitochondria and why it's so important?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that was a smart man, obviously, because mitochondrial function is the production of energy in cells. Mitochondria is a type of organelle. There's many organelles within a cell, but that is a type of organelle. So what its main role is to produce energy from the foods that we consume. It turns them into energy. The byproduct of mitochondrial production, which people may not know, and this is sort of the nasty side of mitochondrial function, is that we have free radical production. So it's one thing to be pumping up people's mitochondrial production, but if their body doesn't have enough micronutrients, then they don't have enough antioxidants to come in and take away those free radicals that are a byproduct from mitochondrial production. One of the main free radicals produced from mitochondrial production is reactive oxygen species, ROS. And I know all of you would know exactly what that is. So that is just one free radical that the body can produce, but that's the main one that's produced from mitochondrial production. So if we're going to go and stimulate people's mitochondrial production, we better be ready for the free radicals to come out. So their body must have enough antioxidants in the form of micronutrients to come along and mop up all that damage. They must be able to then neutralize those free radicals so they're no longer a threat. Because when they're a threat, they cause cell damage and cell death. And that's when people think, oh, I'm really tired, I don't know what's wrong with me, or they start getting disease states, or they start getting really breakouts or really poor complexion, skin's not healing. All those things come from really low mitochondrial and high oxidative stress.
And would you say for someone, how would we know if our mitochondria is working well?
Well, we produce energy. As I said, it produces energy. So if internally, if your mitochondria is working well, you can feel like you've got quite a bit of energy. Your energy is what we would assume, like it goes up and it goes down, and it does fluctuate throughout the day, but you'd be able to have energy, you'd be able to recover from your exercise at quite a regulatory time, not take a long time to recover from exercise. Someone that didn't have good mitochondrial function might go to the gym and might take them 4 or 5 days to recover from going to the gym. Or it might be, to a lesser extent, someone who wakes up really tired in the mornings and they just can't get the energy through the day to really get going. It's like, where's the coffee? And they're relying on all those things. As far as skin goes, when we have poor mitochondrial function in the skin, and I'm not a beauty therapist, obviously you girls know this better than I do, but what I know by science and research is that we get a lot more pigmentation in the skin too when we have a lot more poor mitochondrial function, because it's the mitochondrial function when it's under functioning and we have the high ROS activity that we then, it affects that melanocyte production and we get a lot more pigmentation from that.
Wow, I think that will be very interesting for a lot of people to hear about that today, because pigmentation is a very prominent skin condition that beauty therapists that are treating. And along with, I think women will talk about, they're presenting in the salon 40 plus with that rosacea that you were talking about as well. So they're sort of very common conditions that we do see. And interestingly enough, for the ROS or the reactive oxygen species, I think over the time it has been talked about, but it hasn't really been understood. It's been a term that's been thrown around, but not been enough understanding and knowledge. And if the ROS is there, if the ROS is sitting in the skin, how will it show up again? Tell us how we'll see it.
Pigmentation, breakouts, poor wound healing.
Poor wound healing, which is quite a common element for especially acne scarring as well. So the people that are having acne treatments and the scarring is not, or they are scarring or it's not healing very well.
That's exactly
going to be a clue. Great.
Exactly, because you've got that oxidation in the skin. You're not getting that cell turnover, that healthy renewal, and it's because the free radicals are too high.
So when the free radicals are too high, we want to make sure the antioxidants are there to be able to mop up the free radicals for the cells to get rid of them as they need to and not have it impact the cells, which will impact our body, which can be physical, emotional, mental, and of course, our skin.
Yeah.
Do you think, why is it that minerals are the unknown factor in terms of vitamins are known and collagen's known? Why aren't we knowing enough about the minerals and the different kinds, do you think?
It drives me mad because they're like the unsung hero. Without minerals, nothing else works in the body. Minerals are involved in every biological process in your body, every single one. So we know of zinc, okay, that's a mineral. Zinc's involved on its own in 300 different enzymatic processes in the body. That's just zinc. But you have all your trace minerals, like your copper and your molybdenum and your chromium and all these other potassium and smaller ones that are so necessary, but they're trace, so they're just necessary in small, delicate amounts. It doesn't mean they're not important. We just don't need as much of them. That's all. Where you'll need more magnesium, you'll need more calcium, things like that. They're like your macro, you need more of those. Your micro, your trace minerals, you need less, but you need them in the right ratios. You need them in the way that the body can absorb them and not take them. So it's really important that things are done in a way that you get that symbiotic relationship with them. It's not about just go take a single vitamin because it's going to throw everything else out, like you said before. But if you don't have a good foundation of minerals first, you can't absorb your vitamins. Minerals unlock vitamins. They essentially switch them on. Minerals also allow everything else to function. Without minerals, you not only feel subpar, but you start to get disease states.
I think it's mind-blowing when people hear for the first time how many processes zinc, for example, is involved in, or how many processes in the body magnesium is involved in. And it's shocking to think if they're involved in that many processes, it's the domino effect, isn't it? It's not there, all these other things fall over. Whereas if we are able to have the right amount of the zinc and the magnesiums and the other minerals and the micronutrients into the system, we've got a fighting chance of having the best health that we possibly can.
We do. And that's what really concerns me, Jemima, is the fact that there's such micronutrient deficiency out there now. And it's because of the modern world that we live in. We've all got to live it this way. This is the way it is, but it's about making the best of what we can and helping our bodies through it. Because we've got soil depletion now. I mean, the soil isn't what it was. The trace minerals, the micronutrients actually get formed in the soil via microbial activity in that soil. So if farmers are spraying with their glyphosate, Roundup or even just other pesticides and herbicides, they destroy the microbes in the soil because they want to kill the pathogens. So they do their job. But because they kill those pathogens, they kill those microbes. And it's like our gut flora. We need the microbes to develop the good gut flora. We don't have then the microbes in that soil which make the trace minerals. So
the very foundation then, if things are missing, you can't, if the foundation of the house isn't there, the walls and the ceiling aren't going to really last very long.
It's a concern because of the modern farming, the way things have gone. It's like in that monocropping and, overusing soils, and they end up so nutritionally depleted. And back when our ancestors, our great-grandparents and all, they were alive, it was different. Like there was more lush vegetation and minerals were higher volume in the soils. But now with the modern world, we've got stress depleting our minerals because everyone's busy. Everyone's juggling a few things at one time. We've got stresses in the world like wars and COVID and now floods. I'm in Queensland, everyone. So that's happening. And then we've got chemicals. I mean, we're all exposed to chemicals. They're a part of life, but it's how our body deals with it. How many antioxidants do you have to deal with that? What's your stores like? How are you going to cope? What's your plan? Because there's 143,000 known chemicals now. They keep making 1,000 every year. So they're not going to stop. That's just going to keep going. The average woman puts about 168 chemicals on her body, head to toe, like personal use items per day, when they're using all their products. There's a lot of hidden ones. And in general, we've got our food exposure of chemicals. We've got emulsifiers being added in foods in food manufacturing. The emulsifiers in food, they just strip the gut lining. They give you tendency to inflammatory bowel diseases. No wonder they're on the rise. And also gut disorders in general, which are also on the rise. So you've got that. So you've got, like I said, soil, you've got stress, you've got chemical exposure, and then just like processed foods in general. Like, what are people eating? What are they putting on their plates? Are they choosing the right things? Can they not be bothered because they're so busy? You know, good nutrition, the foundation of all health, like it's everything. But we are up against it a bit with what's happening out there in the world, and you must support your body, particularly with good absorbable antioxidants and minerals and micronutrients. Otherwise, disease will set in, or imbalance will definitely set in at some stage, not just on the skin, but as I said, it's a systemic approach.
Something you mentioned earlier, you touched on it, another element that I find is being talked about more to do with our cells and our health is our emotional state. And again, Mr. Laporte, the inventor of genetic, he talked very much about an energetic balance, and around the emotional state, your mental and emotional state are other components to your nutrition, your exercise, your stress, and your sleep. And
Yes.
the emotional stores, our cells, our muscles, how we hold these things inside, that also has an element to how well our body functions, correct?
Definitely, correct. I don't know if anyone's aware of chakras or chakra balancing, but
Yes.
that's what the path he was on, obviously, when he said all that, because we have 7 chakras in our body, and just like the meridians with the facial mapping, we have the chakras going through energy portals in our body and providing those energy centers with that balance of chi and flow. And we will then get disturbances in those areas if that chi and that balance and that energy is out of flow because of our emotional state. So it could be someone who, you know, very stressed, highly stressed, lots of high cortisol. With high cortisol, physiologically, you're going to get low hydrochloric acid. You're going to get tight, tense muscles, headaches, things like that. You get bloating, distension, irritable bowel syndrome symptoms, or irritable bowel syndrome. But that will then show up in the energy center of the solar plexus and the root chakra down low. So depending on what's going on for the person, emotions, yeah, they will definitely play a part. And as I was saying about the acne rosacea, that's a low hydrochloric acid problem. And one of the big things that depletes hydrochloric acid is activation of the sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight response. When you're feeling really stressed about something, your body pumps all the adrenaline and the cortisol so you can act really quickly and act under times of stress. That then suppresses your digestion, because that's seen as not an important thing at that time. But because it suppresses the digestion, it suppresses the hydrochloric acid and the gastric enzymes along with it. Then if this happens enough times, because the body's stressed so much, then it leads to digestive problems and things on the skin surfacing, such as acne rosacea.
And once those things do happen, we talked about this back in 2020, Michelle, we talked about the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system and the vagus nerve. Yes. And around what you've just talked about, how the stress does shut down the parts of the body that it doesn't think needs that information, yes. all those nutrients, like the digestive system. And as you said, for prolonged, short term, it's okay, but for prolonged timing or use, that can have some real flow-on effect that can maybe not present itself fully for another year or two. Yes. So for a lot of women that start to get diagnoses with thyroid issues in particular, that might have started many years earlier when their body was triggered by a stress or a trauma of some kind, and they've had to work through that process.
Definitely.
So what you're saying to us, the internal health, our cells, the more we support those, the more our skin will reflect and tell the story of good functioning from within the inside. Now, for some people that may not have access to a wide range of minerals and vitamins, amino acids, and the micronutrients in the right balance, you and Shannon came across something incredibly special. Can you please tell us about Cell Charge?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Cell Charge is basically like a heart-based product for us. It's just something that, because we manufacture a lot of supplements for a lot of other companies, a lot of big brands in stores. We're behind them we do their formulation, we do the manufacturing of actually putting the products together down in Melbourne. We have other partners down there. So we do a lot of product for a lot of companies that becomes their brand. We're just the manufacturers in that part, but we want to put ethical, good brands out there. That's just the way we are about it. We won't put our hands on anything and out to the marketplace that we don't feel is ethical and has integrity and is actually going to do the right thing by that person. But Cell Charge is a baby of ours because it's only ours. We're not wanting people wanted to buy it and whatever. We don't want anyone else to have that except us because we're so close to it, because it came about in an interesting way, because Shannon and I, both naturopaths, and as Jemima said, been consulting for just over 20 years. Shannon's my husband. He's the other half of Cell Charge. And we were practicing, started in the late 90s, and we basically were just seeing a lot of people coming in with really ill health, not knowing what was wrong with them. It was kind of, they had a bit of this, bit of that, just under functioning in so many ways, taking multivitamins, taking all this stuff. They kind of bring it into you and they dump it on the counter and say, this is what I'm taking. And you just think, oh my God, there's half the problem. But I mean, are you assimilating it? This is contradicting this. It was crazy how many people we saw that was either self-prescribing or being down the rabbit hole with somebody else. And basically the answer to it was just take more things. And we were thinking, no, we need to get to base level health here. And it was through our exploration into the foundations, as I said, of cell health, looking at the cells, what they critically need to thrive and function. We just knew it was minerals, because it's also the electrolytes. You need enough electrolytes for the cells to function as an electrical charge. We are energy, electrical beings. Our cells maintain a charge. How good that charge is, though, is obviously independent. Each person's different because it depends on your level of those micronutrients. If you have a good level of micronutrients in your body, then you've got a great cellular charge. Things work better. Your mind's sharp. You recover quick from exercise. You have the energy to get up and go. Your immune system's great. You heal up quickly. Your skin's glowing. So we just knew it was minerals. And it was through one of our trips over to America that we actually then really knew it wasn't called Cell Charge. We found this product, which had no name for a while, because we actually used it in clinic on our patients for quite some time, because we just wanted to see. We didn't charge them for it. It was almost like we're conducting one of our own experiments. And we just wanted to see what we were going to get, because we knew it would be good. But it's such an unbelievable thing that it's different for everybody, though, because it depends what their nutritional status is to what result they're exactly going to get. Everyone definitely gets a similar theme, but some people get different things than others because of their base level of nutrition. So after sort of 5 years, really, of using it just on our patients and other colleagues using on their patients, and we just knew we were on something truly phenomenal, and we just had to give it the name Cell Charge, because it just encompasses everything to do with cell health, and it literally is fuel for your cells. And we're just so passionate about it, and we're inundated constantly with people telling us, offering their opinion and feedback on how amazing and how it's changed their lives, because it is just that key component that cells require.
And I'm just going to show everybody at home a picture so that they can see what it is that we're actually talking about.
So this is Cell Charge. And as far as skin goes, guys, the main takeaways, it's 100% organic, 100% plant-based, 100% chemical-free. It's earth extracted. So it's a micronutrient concentrate. It's an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antimicrobial, and antiseptic. So it covers a lot of different actions and a lot of different skin complaints. It can be used topically and internally. We recommend it both topically and internally. And it, for example, antiviral components, it has an organic acid called shikimic acid. And shikimic acid was used in antiviral medication for the Tamiflu, a drug for influenza. So it actually has the natural component.
We missed the bit about you were saying one of the ingredients in cell
Yeah,
charge.
okay. Shikimic acid. It's got 13 organic acids. I might get you to put up that next slide so I can just talk about the ingredients so it makes sense. So basically what's in it, here's the full overall. So you've got your 77 organic trace minerals, 22 organic polyphenolic antioxidants, 18 plant-based amino acids, 13 organic acids, which I was just starting to talk about. I'll come back to that. 38 natural electrolytes, 83% oxygen, and it's a natural source of organic iron as well. So if we go back to the organic acids, this is where this product shines so much topically. It shines amazingly for internal and for skin, particularly because of these organic acids. Some of you may be aware of some of the big name skin products now starting to use organic acids, such as ferulic acid. We have ferulic acid in here. Succinic acid is another one that's in here. So these 13 organic acids collectively are antimicrobial, antioxidant, antiseptic, and antibacterial, just as the slide before showed. And what they do, they're all a bit different, but collectively they have that action. But some of them, like shikimic acid, for example, is antiviral. We've had people use this for cold sores. So cold sores, obviously low immune. It's a virus, so obviously treating it internally, but treating it topically as well. Putting the cell charge neat. It's drop dosage. It's a concentrate liquid. Put 2 drops on the hand, clean hand, and then just get a cotton tip, apply it directly to the cold sores. And we've had results within day, 2 days, 3 days, completely all gone. You can apply it 4 times a day. You can take it internally up to 4 times a day when it's acute. But the organic acid, you've also got one in there, succinic acid. That's all about skin reconditioning, helping that skin turnover, helping to brighten the skin, lessen pigmentation. Also got in there gallic acid. It's again another potent antioxidant. What these antioxidants do in the organic acids is they stabilize other vitamins and minerals. A lot of women use vitamin A on their face, or vitamin E, even vitamin C serums. You all know that these are very susceptible to oxidation, very susceptible to losing their effectiveness. Even when you open the bottle, there's an oxidative process that starts occurring straight away. So cell charge, what it does is it has an organic acid there called fulvic acid. It's kind of its hero in the product. Fulvic acid is a natural organic acid. This actually helps to stabilize all other vitamins and minerals, anything you put into your body, anything you use topically. So it's going to potentiate the action of everything else that person uses. So if they're using a vitamin C serum, it's going to stabilize that vitamin C and stop it oxidizing. It's also going to help the vitamin C to target the skin cells better, because this cell charge is hydrophilic, lipophilic. So it has its own delivery system in pushing into the cells. So it's going to push, it basically has very small molecules, which means it piggybacks nutrients, and it can absorb up to 60 times its weight. So it gets the nutrients, picks them up, and takes them bang, straight into the nucleus of the cell. So you're going to absorb what you use topically. You're going to absorb what you eat and what supplements you take else internally. You're going to get it right to the cell.
That sounds like it's a bit mind-blowing when you think about what it's able to do and reading what's in it. It is. It's one of those products that you think, wow, how can it be
that? And do you know what? How it can be that is it's basically a piece of history, because this is from a rare earth mineral deposit. There's only a couple in the world. We have the most potent site in the world. We have the strongest amount of fulvic acid in this product. You Google fulvic acid, you'll see so much stuff come up about it now. That's just one of the organic acids in this product. But fulvic acid, yeah, it's really potent at increasing mitochondrial production, but it does something different too, because it actually helps to get rid of ROS, get rid of those oxidants. So it pumps up the mitochondria, but it cleans out the toxins. So it literally drags the toxins out of the cell. Our rare earth mineral deposit is actually approximated from geologists, because you never know 100%, but it's approximately 34 million years old. So we have here nutrients in the ground. We've got woodlands that have never been touched. We don't employ heavy machinery or anything to do extraction. We don't use chemicals to extract, because that's harsh and that damages, not only bad for the environment, but you find that you damage all your fulvic acid. Okay, so we do a reverse osmosis harvesting method where it's very gentle. We don't need the heavy machinery. We don't need the chemicals. And our earth deposit has never had pollution there because it's so ancient and old. It's never had anything but woodlands, and it's unspoilt. And you think about all the vegetation that would have been around that many years ago. All those things are extinct and have been for so long. We're getting that in this product. We've got a piece of history here.
It's just fascinating to think that we can have access to something like this, especially when you were saying earlier around modern society, modern life, and how depleted we are.
Yep.
And the beauty of Cell Charge is that it's a liquid. It's in a small bottle, so it can be taken anywhere. It's a liquid in a small bottle. And tell us how you would use it internally for people.
Like it's that big. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Excellent. I'm just going to stop sharing that screen there. So tell us how people would use the Cell Charge internally, Michelle.
Sure. So it's 1 drop per 10 kilo of body weight. So someone 60 kilos, 6 drops. And then just pop it in a little bit of water. Recommend lemon. Lemon's obviously good for your digestion anyway and great for your body with extra flavonoids. But you put it in a little bit of fluid, can be anything. It doesn't matter if it's hot or cold. You can even put it in food. But say it's 6 drops because you're 60 kilos. You initially start with 2 doses a day, morning and night with food. Just enhances the absorption, as I said, of everything else you take. So twice a day for 2-week loading phase. And then you'll go to once a day after that. Using it topically, that's an interesting one. We recommend morning and night, 2 drops. You put 2 drops into your sunscreen in your hand and then pop it on. And that is your protective barrier. As you know, the skin, it's a barrier to the outside world. So putting that on the skin means you've got your antioxidants there front and center when you go out into the elements, where the chemicals are, the pollution, where the UV radiation is, because Cell Charge, particularly with the ferulic acid has studies to show that it inhibits that UVA and UVB damage. So it's actually stopping the oxidation from the sun. Plus, it's got the protease. It inhibits proteases, which damage the collagen. So putting it on at night, so put it on the day, protect your skin through the elements through the day. It also helps keep that hydration because it's got the 38 electrolytes. So it's plumping that skin up, those cells up, juicy green grapes. And then at night, you put the 2 drops in the night cream and then apply it on before bed, because then you're doing your nourishment, your repair. So it's really the only supplement of its kind where you can do topical internal, but you also can do protection and nourishment.
And can I ask, if someone didn't want to take it internally, could they just use it topically, or
Absolutely.
vice versa?
Yeah, 100%. We have quite a few that will just use it internally, and then some just using it topically. But depending on what you're wanting to treat, it's always going to get that 2-prong approach is always going to be best.
Sure. And with what you've described, with what we've seen, with all the ingredients, and for myself personally, who has been using it and love it, is there anybody that it won't be for?
There's not one person. Children, pregnant women, breastfeeding women, elderly. We're all living in the same world. We've all got the same stresses around us and the oxidative stresses all around us. And it's minerals. It's a food-based product, essentially. Antioxidants, polyphenols. There's not one person around that can't benefit from it in some way.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing element that people can have access to quickly and easily. Can we talk about how salons could be using it? From what you've said today, I'm seeing and hearing a few things that our salon owners could potentially be using this within their businesses. And a couple of things that I thought about they could be doing would be to actually give a little shot to their clients as part of their treatment. So they could have a little bit of water with some lemon, a few drops of the Cell Charge in it to actually take while they're in salon.
Definitely. That's a great way to get them introduced to the product.
Yeah.
And just a nice little ritual thing to do, when they come in.
When they start.
Yeah. And also in treatment
topically.
as well. Topically in your treatments.
Yeah, so you could actually be putting a couple of drops, 1 or 2 drops into their treatment during the treatment, or at the end of the treatment.
I think during, because if you want to then go and enhance that mitochondrial, if there's a specific step that you guys are doing for that, that is definitely going to boost that. And when you're using all those actives at that time in the facials or the treatments, it's going to potentiate the absorption of all of that.
Excellent. And the other way, of course, would be if someone's wanted to have a product that they could comfortably recommend safely without having the knowledge of being a full nutritionist or a naturopath like yourself, the Cell Charge could be a really good complement to have to recommend to their clients to use internally or topically. So if we had salon owners today watching or listening that wanted to do that, is that an option available to them?
Definitely. Yeah, you just head to our website, and when you go to the website, you'll see there's internal use or topical use, or I think you might have the link for the internal use.
Yes, Sophia was, sorry, Michelle. Sophia was going to post it into the chat box for everybody who is listening. And the Cell Charge is a pretty simple website in the sense.
It's cellcharge.com.au.
So effectively what you're saying is, for everyone being so individually different and their needs are different, the Cell Charge will actually support whatever their individual needs are on the basis that their body needs to uptake, utilize, and get rid of.
It just plugs up nutritional holes, to put it simply. Yeah.
Great. That's fantastic. Michelle, I know for some of the ladies that are on here today, they are already using Cell Charge personally or are stocking it in their salons. And if someone was to stock it in their salon, how do they get more information or training on this? Tell us a bit about that, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, with our updated website, there is a whole skin section. We've updated it to make it a bit more involved, so you can definitely read the information on there. Click become a wholesaler or stockist, and then fill out the form, and that'll go direct to us. Then as you sign up, I will actually provide you then with education via Zoom. So once you've got your account set up and everything and you've placed your order, then I'll get in contact with you to arrange when it suits you to actually do some Zoom training. That generally runs for about sort of 40 minutes or something like that, sometimes less, sometimes a bit more, depending on how many questions someone has. But then I've got brochures as well, and always here for support with emails or questions. Sometimes people email me just double checking whether this person should take more or less or whatever else they may need. And I can always give some general advice about other things as well.
Okay, so after all this fabulousness of Cell Charge, tell us about the cost.
Okay, so this little bottle here lasts the average person, when they're using it internally only, about 4 to 6 months. So topically, you're just using a few drops anyway, so it's not much different to that. It might be sort of about a 3 to 5 month usage, and that's $99.95 for, as I said, about a 3 to 5 month use, depending on the person. And if you want to open an order, and as part of, we have got a special available today. I don't know if Jemima's going to tell you that later on, but we do have that. And we find that because it's got all the organic acids in there as well, doesn't essentially have an expiry date. It doesn't need an expiry date, but we do have an expiry because it's a legal standard. So we have a 3-year expiry on each bottle.
And I think for a lot of salon owners, one of the first questions that is asked when they're looking at stocking a new product is, what is the markup or what is the margin they're going to be making?
Yes.
And that's sitting at 100%, around 100%.
Well, you've got $55, that includes GST.
Yes. So, and it retails for just under $100. So
it's a great markup, profit margin.
Absolutely. Yeah, really.
A great add-on too, just to help. You know, obviously we all need money at the end of the day, but I mean, you don't want it to be money driven, but there is a good piece of, profit there for salon owners as well.
So now, Michelle, while anybody is wanting to ask any questions, like I said, everyone feel free to put them into the chat box. I do have a question for you, Michelle. Over the course of COVID times, I know a lot of people have talked about using the Cell Charge, and it's just helped improve their health. We know that we're also jointly, Cell Charge and Vital Plus are also treating a little girl who was severely burnt earlier last year, and she's using some genetic products to help that, and some Cell Charge internally and topically. Right. Are there other stories or thoughts or situations that have come to mind of people that have been really had some real success or a real change in themselves that you can think of taking Cell Charge? Yeah,
look, we've had patients on chemotherapy, having chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and quite often, so going through, one lady in particular, she was going through all her rounds and her white cells were dropping so low that it was taking too long for them to get up again so she could go and have another round of chemotherapy for breast cancer. She started Cell Charge and her white cells improved dramatically. She was able to go and have the rounds of chemo quite close together consecutively, and her white cells always returned to normal range. And the specialists were kind of like, we don't know. And she's thinking, well, I do, but that's okay. And they were just thinking it was a freak phenomenon, but that's one case there. We've had people diagnosed with terminal metastatic cancers that have been told you've got months. And although we don't say we treat cancer because we can't say that, we just support their bodies, and they've been able to go on for years beyond what they were told. Obviously it's terminal cancer though. But we also have had, obviously, the skin conditions where people have had psoriasis for years and years and years, start using it topically internally. Within 2 weeks, symptoms are 50% better. That's person head to toe. And acne, putting a topical on acne, cleared overnight. I've got several people, several just recently, telling me about those stories. And diabetes, we've had some great results with diabetes actually, because of the ferulic acid, organic acid in there, plus the fulvic acid, and just the minerals in general and antioxidants, stopping that oxidation. But we've had diabetics that have been able to get to normal blood glucose levels and even get off their metformin and their medications. It helps regulate cholesterol. I've had people doing nothing different but taking Cell Charge, their cholesterol's dropped down. So we're getting a lot of different things. But even Delta, COVID, we've had people that are taking it through Delta and not getting symptoms near as bad as others and recovering quite quickly. And then others that weren't taking it around them in the same household ending up with pneumonia. And look, it is different for everyone. COVID affects people differently. I totally am aware of that.
Yeah.
But anyone that's been taking it while they've had COVID, they've just sped through it a bit faster.
Just amazing. You are suggesting if people do want to become a stockist, the offer that you've put out for everyone today is if they are buying 13 bottles, they get 1 free.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep. And yes, that's exactly right. And as I said to people, just it's only 55, including GST. It's going to last people up to 6 months, depending on the person, their weight and everything, of course. And we've got a 3-year expiry on it. So, I mean, it's longer than that, but we've got legally a 3-year expiry you have to have. And that can sit on the shelves, and you can just, it'd be a great add-on sale for people as well. Comes in a really nice box. And we've got some great material brochures to go to support the product if you're sort of unsure of what I said, or it's just gone like this. There's the brochure and there's the website, and you can always send me an email.
And I just wanted to show everybody really quickly how simply I do it in the morning. Michelle, I know you've got a few videos on your Instagram page and website. I have a little glass of water with a little bit of water in the bottom, and I just drop my Cells Charge straight into that.
Yep.
I give it a swirl and I take it as a shot first thing in the morning.
Yep, that's like me. And our kids do
Beautiful.
it. Kids take it as well because it's great for the children, particularly considering 47% of preschoolers are iron deficient. There's a bit of iron in there as well. It's only a low dose of iron, but it's in there.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, everybody, Michelle, again, it's been really great to start a conversation around Cell Charge. Michelle, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us live. For those that are listening later on, thank you for making the time to learn something new today. And we look forward to seeing you in March for our Future Beauty event then. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having me, everyone. It's been great to be here. I've really loved it.